Ready for a new robotic pet? Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from Tombot is co-founder and CEO Tom Stevens. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Fred. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure to meet you. Give us a little background to start out with about the company. I understand you've been at this for a little while now.
I have been at this for a little while. So my background is I've been in the high-tech industry for over 30 years. My two Tombot co-founders and I built a prior startup into one of the world's largest litigation automation companies. We were successfully acquired in 2011, which gave me the freedom to think about other things. Unfortunately, that same year, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, and I had to take away her dog for safety reasons. She was quite upset with me. I looked around for substitutes for live animal companions, but she didn't like anything that I brought home. It was at that time I realized there was a very large gap in the market. That launched me on what ultimately became a multi-year research and education journey, culminating in a master's degree from Stanford University. And along the way, I learned that my mom's story is shared by over 300 million seniors with dementia or pre-dementia mild cognitive impairment, and quite literally half the planet, about 1 billion of the 2 billion households, do not keep live animals as pets for reasons including health adversity, cost, burden of care, and living restriction. And so we launched Tombot to be in service to these people.
And now you're on the market with this. So give us the overview here. What are we looking at?
Sure. So our product is actually our first product to market is designed specifically for seniors with dementia. This is a very well-researched area. Seniors with dementia suffer from something called behavioral and psychological symptoms, which include loneliness, depression, anxiety, delirium. In my mother's case, hallucinations and violent anger. To manage these symptoms, historically, doctors have relied upon psychotropic medications, but while most of us would tolerate those medications without much problem, they're particularly hard on the elderly, so much so that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services prohibit their use in long-term care facilities under most circumstances. Over 200 peer-reviewed studies to date show that where a senior with dementia can form a robust emotional attachment to a robotic animal, that senior gets a great deal of relief from those behavioral and psychological symptoms and a corresponding reduction in need for the psychotropics. The problem, however, is most seniors are like my mother and don't care for those existing technologies. So our mission became to develop a better emotional attachment object, one that consistently stimulates enduring emotional attachment, but also be available at a price that most seniors could afford, even before we have health insurance reimbursements in place. We studied with over 700 seniors with dementia, developing 5 generations of high fidelity prototypes. This is generation number 5 here. And of the many things that we learned, by far the most important were around realism. Realism, first of all, in objects of which they're already familiar, so puppies and kittens, as opposed to wild animals or fictitious creatures. And then secondly, the more realistic, the better. Realism in appearance, in texture, and most importantly, behaviors. We teamed with Jim Henson's Creature Shop, the people behind Muppet, Sesame Street, and a great many very realistic movie and television props to do our artistic design. And with their help, we're building what we believe to be are the world's most realistic robotic animals, scientifically designed to stimulate emotional attachment. And then once in place, we become a unique platform for monitoring those seniors for safety and health. So in effect, she's an emotional attachment object. She is designed to lay comfortably on somebody's lap, so think lap dog. Anything on the ground presents a fall risk for a senior with dementia, so objects in this category are never placed on the ground. She's very portable and can lay, once again, can lay comfortably on somebody's lap or in a table or chair, someplace where people can remain in close contact with them. 5 mechanical subsystems that drive all the different behaviors. I'll show you on this one. This is what the robot looks like without the cosmetics on it. So the mouth opens and closes, but not just open and close, a lot of fine expressiveness. The eyes open and close, the eyebrows lift, the ears move, the head and neck move, giving it its great range of motion, but also the fine expressiveness that we're used to with puppies. And of course, the tail wags. Um, and the reason it moves is a fairly involved software operating system that we've developed that monitors inputs from sensors and then decides what that might mean to exhibit a behavior. So she's covered with sensors. She can feel how and where she's being touched, tell the difference between a simple touch, a slow caress, vigorous pet, and being held. She responds to a long list of voice commands, but only to her name. We come with a smartphone app that allows for a number of configuration settings, including naming the robot. She can feel herself being moved. So if she's picked up or moved in a different position, she knows not to thrash and risk injuring somebody or being dropped. Has a light sensor, so if it's dark in a room, she knows not to bark, and a variety of other sensors to help her understand her environment, make an inference as to what that might mean, and then exhibit a behavior that's appropriate to that context. And part of our technology is the potential for having unlimited categories of behaviors and unlimited behaviors in a given category, so the users will never perceive repetition.
Hi, I'm Tom Stevens. I'm CEO and co-founder of Tombot. We're developing robotic companion animals for seniors with dementia. From our studies, we learned that seniors strongly prefer realistic appearance and realistic behaviors. Being a robotics technology company, we didn't know how to do that. So we turned to the animatronics community here in Hollywood to help us with the design.
Well, my name is Peter Brook. I'm the creative supervisor here at Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
My name's John Criswell. I'm the animatronic supervisor at the Jim Henson Creature Shop.
Tombot was a totally unique project.
The Tombot project was really close to my heart. My father suffered from Alzheimer's, and so when this particular project came in and I found out about it, I was, thrilled to be a part of it from the beginning.
Their first efforts were generally excellent. The refinements that we ended up doing were very, very modest. The big work for us really came after Jim Henson's Creature Shop finished their project and tried our efforts to replicate the magic which they could create in an animatronic prop into a fully independent robot.
Obviously, we've done realistic animals before for movies. But oftentimes they're just for one or two shots. But here we were in a situation where we had to create a basically realistic dog that could be totally self-contained and operate in a completely different environment than, say, a film set or a TV stage.
Really, from our first meeting with Jim Henson's Creature Shop, we knew this was going to be a great relationship. That included bringing out anatomically correct dogs and looking at how dogs move to express themselves. We looked at that and realized that it was really the detail in those expressions that were going to make the difference in our product.
I'm a big believer in that if you get the foundational aspects of the job correct and right, then everything you layer on top of that is only going to support that foundation and to make it work. And so with Tombot, we really went back to the skeleton of the animal, of a dog, and the muscles, and we paid a great deal of attention on trying to make the mechanics, the internal mechanics, mimic the kind of movement that you would see in a real animal.
Jim Henson's Creature Shop are the masters at helping us suspend disbelief and buying into the world which they create. So coming and visiting the shop, each of our working meetings has always been a childhood joy to experience. But more than that, the people that we worked with really were the difference makers. Because of their personal connection, there was a special motivation that we felt that Jim Henson's Creature Shop put into our project. And I think the results really speak for themselves. Our robot, Jennie, I think looks and functions much better than we had anticipated at this stage in our development.
this one just meant a whole lot more somehow because of the implications of, where it could possibly go and what it could possibly do for people that are suffering from this really horrible, disease.
We're grateful for the work that we've been able to do with Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and we look forward to utilizing their services again in future projects.
That's very interesting. And of course, you don't have to buy food or take it for a walk, right? So
Exactly right. So the peak pet ownership rates peak when we're in our 50s and then decline by about 50% per decade after that. So most seniors have already made the decision to no longer care for a live animal. Those reasons include, limited mobility or some other health issue, the burden of care. And the one that really surprised us is people won't want to grieve for the loss of another family member. They like the fact that we're a robot and that we're an immortal puppy. And so as long as they take care of it, the puppy will be around for them.
that is interesting. Tell us what you've mentioned, I think, quite a few perhaps already, what you feel your advantages are in this category, because I don't think you're alone in it, but it sounds like you're bringing some newer technology here.
Great point. So there have been about 1 million robotic animals already sold into the senior with dementia community. So it's already a robust marketplace. However, they find themselves in one of two ends of the spectrum. Either they're simple children's mechanical toys that have been rebranded for seniors, which for many people lose their appeal once the novelty effect wears off. Or on the other end of the spectrum are prohibitively expensive robots. This space was invented in the early 2000s by a Japanese research institute. They created a robotic seal by the name of Paro. It's a good robot, but it costs over $6,000. Most senior care facilities can't afford one, let alone individuals like my mother who need one for themselves in order to form that emotional bond. So with our studies with seniors with dementia, we learned why these products were ineffective in the market. And it really comes down to the fact that seniors didn't identify them as being appropriate for themselves. With the toy-like products at the low end, my mother never walked up and down the aisle, the toy aisle at Target shopping for herself. Didn't identify as something that they would wish to care for and have as a companion. And so the further we dug into this, so the further we were along our studies, that realism was critical. We are the first and only product with any kind of realism. And once again, I think your viewers can appreciate that this is a highly realistic in appearance and behaviors. That's first of all. And then secondly, because we're a sensor-driven product, we need to be able to learn what's happening in our environment in order to exhibit appropriate behaviors. We're able to leverage that into providing more services, not just for the user, but for the family member as well. 83% of seniors with dementia live at home and are cared for by an unpaid family member. Those family members are a lot like me, who never received any formal training on how to care for somebody with Alzheimer's or other causes of dementia and are overwhelmed. Dementia is one of those diseases, or Alzheimer's, which can lead to dementia, is one of those diseases where the impact on the family can be at least as great as it is on the individual who's suffering for it. Very high rates of anxiety and depression among caregivers because caring for a loved one with dementia is relentless. And so we are not only in service to the user, but we're in service to the caregivers, facilitating how they understand caring for their loved one with dementia and how they communicate with medical providers and other professionals to make sure that their loved one is getting the best care possible.
Very interesting. So tell us about the availability and pricing aspect.
So first of all, we are not available currently. We're just entering production preparation today. We made our big launch announcement at the CES show earlier this month, but we're still a little ways away from shipping the first customer, making first customer shipments. We're just entering the first of 3 phases of production preparation called engineering, testing, and validation. And then we'll be in beta testing here very shortly. As soon as our betas are working the way our customers want them to, we'll lock everything down and start producing robots. We have 2 different customers. We sell to the family members on behalf of a loved one with dementia for a one-time price of $1,500. But we also sell through hospitals, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing, long-term acute care, behavioral health institutions, and so forth, where they can buy the product, but they also can set up long-term rental of the product and then turn around and provide that to their patients and residents for a markup.
Now, are you sticking with the one look, one breed, so to speak?
We're beginning with one look and one breed. So everything that we do is data-driven, modeled after an 8 to 10-week-old Labrador Retriever puppy. Labrador Retrievers have been the #1 most popular dog in America for decades. Actually, just got knocked off the top spot by French Bulldogs during COVID because French Bulldogs don't need to move. You take them out once or twice, and that's it for the whole day, where labs need a lot of space and need a lot of running capability, which was less practical during the COVID pandemic.
Sounds like Jennie was chiming in there.
Yeah, she wants to run. So we starting with an iconic breed. Secondly, research shows that people associate friendly traits with yellow fur and floppy ears, as opposed to dark-colored fur and pointy ears. Think Doberman Pinscher. They come in 4 different colors, so we'll be able to offer some options for our customers. But also importantly, this is a large dog breed. So the 8 to 10-week-old puppy form is large enough for us to squeeze all the gear in it. So we could never have started with a Chihuahua puppy, as an example, just way too small. Until we have experience in miniaturizing the gear, we needed to start with a breed that was large enough for all that to sit. That said, we will expand to other breeds, but our next major endeavor will be a cat.
Now, you had mentioned that I think that there is some kind of feedback that is given to caregivers or family members.
It is. So version 1.0 of our monitoring will be used for treating sundowning syndrome. Sundowning is where seniors get confused, disoriented late in the afternoon and evening. Despite it being very common, it's poorly understood, which renders treatment to be provided on a trial and error basis. We anticipate being the first device of any kind that provides objective feedback to the caregiver and the medical provider to help them give course corrections to sleep timing, meal timing and contents, and medication dosages and timing of administration, all with the goal to get more even cognitive and emotional levels throughout the late part of the day.
Interesting. And as a caregiver or a family member, is there an app or how am I getting feedback and getting information?
There is a companion app. So on our smartphone app, my handy prop here, on our smartphone app, where that's where a lot of configuration settings get made. So renaming the robot, customizing the behaviors of the robot, pushing up software updates to the robot, but also as the robot collects information, uploading that back to the app, and where within the app, they can either have the log that's there, but also have the graphical depiction of how mom or dad or whoever the loved one is with dementia, see how they're doing with their sundowning syndrome and be able to share that with the doctor. And we're working with leading academic research institutes to design the user interface for that app.
And the updates, would that be more voice commands or what kinds of things might you be looking at?
So one of the things, so first of all, think of it as a smartphone that moves. So all of the reasons you might update your smartphone would be similar reasons why you would want to update the robot. So just overall performance, bug fixes, and things like that. But we have multiple layers to our software, and one of those layers are the behaviors that the robot is capable of exhibiting. Part of our technology is the potential for unlimited categories of behaviors and unlimited behaviors within a given category. So we will continue over time to expand and refine the behaviors that the robot's capable of exhibiting through those smartphone updates.
Very interesting. So, looking ahead, it's a matter of months before these are actually available, or what can you tell us?
We're not quite pinning a date down. There's a reason why hyper-realistic robotic animals don't exist. It's really hard and capital intensive. We're always raising money, so any of your viewers are interested in talking to us, we'd love to talk to them. But there's a lot of work, and it's hard to know whether something is going to take 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks. So it's for each of these upcoming milestones, we have targets, but we don't have certainty. So as soon as possible is the best I can do. It won't be before the end of this year, but hopefully we can squeeze something in 2025, but it could bleed in over into 2026.
Very interesting. Well, congratulations on the innovations. Where's the best place for people to go for more info?
So people can reach us at tombot.com, Tombot.com. There's general information on our website, including the ability to join our wait list for a puppy. There's also a section for investors for those that are interested, learning more about what the details are of the investment opportunity. But there, you can also find us covered in great podcasts like Techstination, as well as a lot of other major media coverages here. Really just seeing the robots, and you can see videos both on our website and on our YouTube and other social media channels.
And will a charge pretty much get you through the day?
Yeah, that's a great point. So designed to last all day under typical use and then be plug-in rechargeable overnight. We plan to offer a bed like you see her laying on as an optional accessory in the future. And if she's simply placed on it, she'll wirelessly recharge.
Again, it's tombot.com. Tom Stevens, thanks for spending time with us.
My pleasure, Fred. Thank you so much for having us.